Hello and welcome to my episode recap, episode 14 of Fate's Day Night's Unlimited Blade Works that is titled The Princess of Colchis. And as the title is titled, it's basically just sort of a backstory into Castor. Look at her in a sort of sympathetic sort of way. So that's very different to the series before, something new and original. And that's why I do appreciate about the series, bringing new and original stuff to the anime world, and it's very original because this sort of backstory we get from Castor isn't really in the visual novels at all, and we get some little things in here and there as well with Gilgamesh and with the Einzbern castle, his attack over there. So lots of new things compared to the visual novel of the Unlimited Blade Works arc. And definitely a very good episode. Lots of build-up, especially even more build-up than we had before. But still, we had some great animations here and there, and that's what really was the big point here. It looked gorgeous, and definitely the action sequences coming up for episode 15 is going to be really exciting to watch with Gilgamesh against Berserker, which is what it's going to look like now, and I'm very excited to check that out. But again, the backstory to Castor was very insightful, and sort of gave you a sort of sympathetic look and how, you know, she is sort of the overarching villain, but she has some sympathetic things in there as well, and that's why she's not very evil, but still kind of evil to the point to where our characters, Rin and Shiro, have to stop her. The episode does start off with Rin and Shiro, pretty much Rin fixing up Shiro's injuries, and while Shiro, he talks about his ideology again, about becoming a hero of justice, how that still hasn't really changed despite the situation. And Rin still disagrees with his way of life, but of course his way of life sort of saved her in a way, so she can't really say much on that. And you know, despite, you know, being servantless, you would say, they still agreed to work together because Rin doesn't exactly hate Shiro, and his cooking is good. And so she also asked for a refill at the end of that little sequence there in a very tsundere-like way. So more tsundere traits for Rin in that last sequence of this thing here with Rin and Shiro's sort of conversation with each other. But as they go over the situation of what's going on with Archer being on Castor's team, Kuzuki being a very good close combat, you know, Force, Castor herself with all the magic that she possesses. Saber is probably eventually going to join her as well, because it's only a certain amount of time before she actually goes into the control of Castor, which when we do see her when on the church, she's in a different position now, but still in that very tied up sort of way. That's a pretty interesting thing there. But they decide, Rin and Shiro, they decide to team up Ilya, because that's probably their only hope to defeat Castor. Her and Berserker are probably the best threats to beat Castor, because in Greek mythology, Berserker is Hercules, and you know, Hercules and the Princess of Colchis, Medea, do have their sort of battles, and Hercules does have the upper hand in those battles, so he's probably the one weakness to Castor in the battle coming up. But the big point in this episode was the backstory of Castor. Castor sort of like a flashback, sort of a recollection of the events that probably happened a couple months before the Holy Grail War actually started, because one of the conversations was with Kire, where he said that only 5 masters have confirmed the Holy Grail War. And so this is before Rin and Shiro summoned their servants. And so this flashback pretty much points to that Castor had a previous master before Kuzuki. He was a guy who was new to the Mages Association. He had a lot of money, a lot of women behind him. But however, he develops his alchemy workshop, which is supposed to help him like create crystals, create more mana for his cause. However, he was using child sacrifices to create this crystal, and so Castor sort of you know, disagrees with what he's doing, saying that, you know, he could do this in a much faster way. You know, she even creates the crystal, more than one crystal than what he was creating before, and so she was sort of in a good way, you would say, against child sacrifices, even though before she was sort of, you know, gathering sacrifices herself just to gain her own, just to gather more power for herself. But in this sort of way, it's more inefficient. So she's all about efficiency. However, She is that's very against child sacrifices, even though like it was a very brutal scene, very dark, and just very easy, no screams, so it wasn't really that chilling or dark, but it was still pretty dark. Those kids who first died just for this guy creating crystals, even though it could have been done faster if Castor had done that, and so he doesn't really approve of that. I'm sorry, and he kind of throws Castor off to the side, calling her a witch, because she's more powerful than he is. So I guess it's more of a fear kind of thing. And for this guy here, we don't even hear his name at all, but still, it seems like a fear kind of thing against Castor of what, because he sees how powerful she is, and it just calls her a witch, and sort of is very negative towards her. And so then this guy pretty much asks Kirei for a different servant, which I guess he could do, but it's never been done before, so like I was kind of questioning whether he can do that or not. But we don't see that. I think, he wanted to send some sort of message to Lancer's master, who we've never met before. And like he has mentioned a few times here and there, but we never actually see Lancer's master. We do see Lancer between, I guess, kind of a fight, you would say. We see him and Castor have some sort of reaction against him, but we don't really see anything that's coming from there. So that's pretty interesting stuff there. But before that, she does end up destroying the guy's workshop, freeing herself as well by stabbing herself essentially with using the rule breaker on herself, and she's pretty much accepted that sort of consequence, whatever consequences that could be, for using her own noble phantasm against herself. And pretty much the guy, he dies pretty much. We see these images of Medea from the Greek legends of before, all these old paintings, old murals or whatever, stone tablets and whatnot. We see some more backstory on Castor a little bit, and after Lancer shows up and whatnot, she's left to the side once again, all bloody up, and that's when Kuzuki comes in and agrees to help Castor. So he does it willingly, and it doesn't really seem like Castor has any sort of, any chance for a double cross, unlike what we've seen in previous incarnations of Fate Stay Nights, where sort of Castor is to take advantage of Kuzuki, but in this sort of sense, we don't really get the sense of that at all. So that's pretty interesting changes to the backstory of Castor and sort of her motivations towards her master and Kuzuki, and sort of her motivations for the future of the series and the future of the Holy Grail War as well. But after we see the backstory of Castor, we move back into Rin and Shiro, where they take a taxi to the forest. I guess the taxi door closed by itself. That was a weird little thing that I noticed, that the taxi door just pretty much closed by itself. Shiro didn't close it, and it was very weird there, but little things there, nothing really too much from there, but traps are set around the Einzbern castle, and it slightly affects Shiro, because I guess Rin was sort of sacrificing Shiro just in case something happened. It's a little shock, but when Rin tries to step in, a huge shockwave comes back right at her. Ilya's laughing at her, and she pretty much decides to let them in. She sees them not as a threat at all. Of course, they don't really have servants, and Ilya already has Berserker, and so there's no real threat there. But Sayla, and mostly Sayla, she's very against it, and she's sort of one of the housemaids for the Einzbern estates, and they sort of have to do whatever they say, but she is very strong opinionated when it comes to letting these two in. Compared to Lazarus, who doesn't really care about that much, but we do see some sort of opposition against letting Rin and Shiro into the castle. But we do see that Ilya wants to let mostly Shiro in because she wants to know more about her father, I guess. She wants to ask him questions, pretty much, because I guess spoiler alerts, I kind of spoiled who the blonde-haired guy was anyway, but still, it's not really that much of a spoiler. But Ilya, her father, Kiritsugu, and her mother, Irisville, they were married. She's a homunculus, pretty much half homunculus. That's what Gilgamesh was pointing towards. But pretty much, she also talked about revenge against Shiro in Kiritsugu's place once before in the third episode, I believe, as well. And so I guess she wants to ask more questions about her father, because the last moments of her father's life was within Shiro's hands, essentially. And so I guess they're kind of like stepbrother and stepsister, essentially, Shiro and Ilya. And, it's pretty interesting stuff there that Ilya does want to know more about her past, more about her father, more about her parents. because she pretty much lives alone by herself, and now she has Berserker with company there, and Sayla and Lizrit are, her company there, as well as housemaids, pretty much homunculus, as again Gilgamesh points out that they're artificially created humans. So if you've seen Fullmetal Alchemist, all the sort of greed, envy, lust, they're all homunculi, essentially. And that's what Sayla and Lizrit are, and they are sent out to capture, quote-unquote, capture Rin and Shiro, since Sayla doesn't want them to sort of walk in very easily, like they were trying to do before. And then now in the final sequence of this episode, Shinji falls from the sky from like this yellow portal to the roof of the Einzbern castle. I guess his servant Gilgamesh helped out his fall a little bit, and he's freaking out. He's sort of being Shinji, freaking out, being a sort of a wuss, you would say, but it's acting all strong and haughty when Sayla and Lizrit come in, and so they decide to attack Shinji, but they let him go pretty easily, just give him a 10-second count. But that's when Gilgamesh comes in and threatens to attack and kill Sayla and Lizrit, looking for the vessel of the Holy Grail, which I guess he found information on, which, he hangs out with Kirei, so I guess he would know the vessel of the Holy Grail, since that's probably something he told him, and it's sort of something else that, they were trying to figure out as well, trying to have their own plans for the Holy Grail, because, from what Caster said, there's one Holy Grail, and then there's another Holy Grail as well. So there's different levels of a Holy Grail you can get, and one's more powerful than the other, basically. And, Gilgamesh, he does make easy, brutal work, basically. Sayla and Lizrit, there are like swords all over them. Sayla tried to make a one last-ditch effort, but he cuts her head off, basically. And the way Ilya and Berserker come in is just so badass. Like, she's like in the middle of him, like she's like riding him essentially to burst through the wall. It's so badass. The adrenaline started pumping in within the meeting. I was getting so ready for the battle. Ilya saw what Gilgamesh did, and like she had enough of this. She was in a pit of anger. She orders Berserker to kill Gilgamesh, and I was just so into this episode, but it ended, and we have to wait till next episode for the Berserker versus Gilgamesh battle, and it's going to be a good one, because we saw that Gilgamesh, he's using his, I guess, wall, I forget what he called it in Fate Zero, but he doesn't have to use his swords, just has to open up the portals, the Gate of Babylon, I think that's what he's using, there, and it's going to be a very interesting battle against Heracles, one of the more stronger servants in the battle, compared to Saber, pretty much, two strongest servants in the battle here, so it's going to be a very fun battle to watch, especially with the animations of this series, and action sequences do reflect how awesome the animations are within the series. And so that is it for our episode recap, episode 14 of Fate Stay Nights on Little Blade Works, The Princess of Colchis. And for a rating, I'm probably going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. I very much enjoyed this episode. Visually stunning, much more visually stunning than the 13th episode, because there's a little bit more done here and there. We see a lot more of Gilgamesh. You haven't really said his name just yet, but still, if you watched Fate Zero before, you know who that is, and also the relationship that Ilya has with Shiro, kind of in, not a direct kind of way, but sort of within their parents, especially Kiritsugu. But other than that, it's a pretty cool sequence with Caster sort of seeing her backstory a little bit, original stuff that we haven't really seen before in the visual novels or in previous anime adaptations before the visual novels, and we saw some cool original stuff with Gilgamesh also attacking the Einzbern castle. We haven't really seen that previous thing there, sort of a prequel of what's that battle occurred over there, so it's pretty cool stuff that we've seen so far with episode 14, and episode 15 looks like we're going to have a ton more action sequences, and I'm very curious on how Rin and Shiro will play into that action that's going to come up, and so I'm really curious on that, and I'm very excited for this series because the adrenaline pumping, the visuals are just so stunning, and seeing different points of views of the characters is very important as well. In some adaptations of the series, especially Fate Stay Nights, the original one, 2006, we mostly saw Shiro's point of view. We didn't really see much from Ren, we didn't see much from Ilya, not really much from Caster, so this series is pretty much opening up more doors. It's more teams, if you will, so we're getting different perspectives of each character, and so I really do enjoy that, what the series is bringing up. But that is it for my episode recap. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel if you like this video or my other videos on this channel. Check those out. If you like them, subscribe, share this video, like it, favorite it, do all that kind of stuff. But thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Bye-bye.